So first you have to accept the prosperity of an emotion. In other words, prosperity, there's a richness in alignment, tapping into the power and the energy that creates worlds. That is abundance. That's abundance. Abundance, prosperity. It's a vibrational thing. So now let's take this a little further. So the economy, whatever it is, no one understands it who is physically focused. In other words, but this is a common misunderstanding about it. The economists are splitting up the pie of current reality. In other words, they don't count it until it's manifested. They don't count it until the gold has been dug up. They don't count it until Google, who sold the shares, they don't count it until there is manifestational evidence of it. Right? So there's this pie that, by the way, has been expanding. Have you noticed? And look how this manifested pie has expanded. So the economists are only counting the pie that has manifested. So they say, and you do too, well, here's the pie. Hard to get my thoughts around this pie because it's big. Nobody knows how big. I keep hearing different things. But apparently there's a pie. And that guy over there, he got a really big piece of the pie. The pie isn't being very well split up. But in any case, it's a limited pie, which makes me, as the participant in the pie, nervous about it. Nervous about it and worried about it and competitive about it and angry about it, worried about it, and out of the vortex about it. And we say, your problem is you're not talking about the real pie. The real pie is that energy pie, it's that vortex pie, it's that what is in the process of becoming pie. It's where that pie came from. And so if you can find a way of shaking loose of the reality and start staking your claim inside the vortex where the true energy and power and clarity and resilience is, then what is in your bank account is as irrelevant as that big old pie. Because that's old news. That's old news. This is where it's at, you see. So your optimism is about the pie you're moving to, not the pie that has been created and divvied up and squawked over by so many. So many people who are fixated on that pie are staking no claim whatsoever in this pie. But you know who's staking claim in this pie? We'll tell you. The guys that have got the biggest share of that pie. Because they've figured out how to play the game. They're not worried. They're not groveling. They're not feeling like victims. In other words, they know there are always opportunities, and that opportunities appear in the oddest of circumstances. In other words, their optimism stays up no matter what, because they understand that it's about something other than that pie, that manifested pie, which is old news. Which brings us to something that we like to say to all of you, especially lately, a lot. Anything that's manifested is old news, because this vortex is where who you really are is, and all of the cooperative components that are aligned with who you really are. We want to jolt you, cajole you, sell you, encourage you into being your own cooperative component with your own pie. And as you relax into that, how do I conjure a vibration apart from reality? We just showed you how. You put reality in its proper place. It's old news. And you put vibration in its proper place. It's where it's at. And then you decide what you're going to give your attention to. You're going to talk about what happened or what's happening. Where you've been, where you're going. How you felt, how you feel. I want, I like, I love, I will, I am. Let's find the place of it. I like the resolution of resistance. I love the allowance of the things I seek. I so love to allow my financial prosperity. I so love the feeling of allowing financial prosperity. I so love the feeling of allowing financial prosperity. I love the feeling of alignment. I love being in the vortex, and I know how to get there. I love the feeling of allowing financial well-being. I do know it's a matter of contouring my own vibration. I do know that I can tell by the way I feel how well I'm doing. I do know that I am good at focusing on some subjects. I do recognize that the subject of money is one I've negatively practiced for a while. I do know that I can change my thoughts about anything. I do know that in changing my thoughts, I can achieve more money. I'm reaching for the feeling of relief that releasing resistance about money will give me. I love being calm about money. I love being assured about it. I love that feeling about everything. I'm beginning to understand that it's about contouring my mind, not about affecting results. I believe I can contour my mind. I do it relative to so many things. So I can do it relative to this. I'm expecting good results as I consistently hold my mind in a better feeling place. I'm there right now. I'm holding my mind in a better feeling place right now. I have found the relief I was seeking relative to the subject of the way I feel. I can't keep this up without improvement in everything in my life experience. I am now feeling ease about the subject of alignment. I have accomplished the ease that I sought out to achieve. I did it. I've accomplished the ease that I set out to achieve.
I want to talk about the notion of when people say, and I've heard this my whole life, so it's probably a belief, but I still incorporate it into my daily experience of, well, if this job, I didn't get this job, or I didn't get this house that I want to move into, that it wasn't, quote unquote, it wasn't meant to be, and that there is something bigger and better coming.
We would say it in different words. We would say, I didn't rendezvous with it. I didn't rendezvous with it. And it could be for these reasons. Either it wasn't up to speed with my desire, or I wasn't up to speed with my desire. Can you hear the difference? It wasn't meant to be. That doesn't make any sense, because there's no one minting things into being outside of you. So it either means that it doesn't match what my vortex version is, or I'm not matching what my vortex version is. Now, we agree with you. You say these things and you hear these things, but now you are different, because now you've had several hours together where you've been steeped in a new understanding of the way life is coming to you. And so if you're approaching anything that you've wondered about before from this new perspective of, well, I'm tending to my point of attraction. And what is my point of attraction right now? Am I under the influence of my inner being? Because if I am, then that house is not up to speed with who I am. If I'm up to speed with who I am, then I'm up to speed with what's in my vortex. So I'm up to speed. So my point of attraction is such that what I really want will come to me. And if that doesn't come, then it isn't what I really want. Did you hear that? So can you hear how helpful it would be in all of these situations of wondering? Can you hear how helpful it would be to be pretty good at acknowledging, what influence am I under right now? Am I under the influence of source, or am I under the influence of not liking where I live? Am I under the influence of understanding my ability to be or do or have anything I want, or am I under the influence of wanting to prove my worthiness in some way? As you play with this on big and small subjects, on a variety of different topics, you'll get really good at knowing what influence you're under. Have you ever been in a situation where you said about the room full of people, or about a particular person that you are interacting with, that person brings the best out in me? I'm more lively, I'm more clever, I'm more fun, I'm less inhibited. I feel better when I'm with that. Well, that's what it feels like to be under the influence of source. I'm just at my best. I feel security, not insecurity. Or I feel confidence, not lack of confidence. I feel exhilarated, not lethargic. Or I feel stable, not unstable. You see? And so as you just practice moment by moment, what influence am I under? What influence am I under? Then it's easy for you to know, well, that house just isn't the right house.
As I go through this process, and we'll use the house example, if I see something that I like, that's just a representation, but I know...
A representation of what?
Representation of what I want, but it may be just, I can't feel it. So it's not really a direction I should go. Does that make sense? Like,
you're introducing some really wonderful things to this conversation. So this is the way we would approach it if we were standing in your physical shoes. First, if it isn't something that is really ringing your bells, we wouldn't move in the direction of it. We'd just call it data collecting. But you also want to focus, as we've been talking all this week, on being in a bell ringable position. If you're not in a position where you can hear your bells ringing, then you're not going to hear your bells ringing. And so sometimes bells are ringing and you don't hear it, and sometimes the wrong bells are ringing, so to speak. So it's necessary to know how you feel. And so this is how we would approach it. That was a little hard to hear. We're going to make it clearer for you. A nice way to approach life is to say, I'm going to make a decision and I'm going to line up with the decision, because there are so many options that would be lovely. But in human experience, I want to find the very best option. And I'm afraid if I pick an option that's not the very best option, then I will prevent myself from having the very best option. What if I pick something lesser than what I really want? And if we were standing in your physical shoes, that's not the way we would approach it. If we've practiced knowing what it feels like for bells to ring, and our bells are ringing a little bit, we would make a decision to line up with that, because you can be in a position later where something else and something else and something else, there's nothing that is the end of your ability to attract. And so there's a sort of limitation that you're imposing unnecessarily that goes something like, I've got to make the right decision, because you really can't make the wrong decision. Because any decision that you make, if you decide to line up with it, you're going to have inner being help. And since you never get it done, then is there any problem with it just getting better and 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 better? Do you ever stand back and regret having been 4? Oh, I'm embarrassed that I was 4. I didn't know very much then. Or 5. Not much more then either. Enjoy your evolution through your attraction, through your steady, never-ending attraction.